Today I fucked up by making a very important typo in a work email. Of course this didn't happen today, it was about 2 years ago, a few weeks into my new job. I had just started, quite late in life I might add, my new shiny office job. Eager to make myself seem enthusiastic, I would often take on a lot of new tasks here and there to the delight of my teammates. One such task involved uploading a file to a server each morning, and we would receive a file from this team of people I will call finance. One day they forgot to add the file to the morning email. "I'll get it," I shouted eagerly as I smashed out what was to be a killer email, solidifying my place among the workplace elite. Now, everyone knows you have to add a nice sign-off, maybe a yours, maybe even going a bit fancy with a "looking forward to hearing from you," but I keep it simple with a "regards. Hi finance, I think someone forgot to upload the file to the previous email. Retards. Dr_JRE. I was elated at my effort, at least until my manager turned his head round wide-eyed and said, "Was that email meant to be sent?" My heart sank. We just went for the leave it and hope for the best, then apologize profusely if anyone notices play, and luckily no one did. Or at least no one said they did. Kind regards is now part of my email sick. What a regard. Too long didn't read. I called everyone in finance a retard 2 weeks into my new job by accident. Edit, thanks for all the funny stories and awards. / the Reddit award speech. If you have a moment, check out X Sentinel on Spotify. I once received an email where the sender, name Angus, misspelled his name. Kind regards, Anus. Had a longer than should have chuckle at that one. Still gets me smiling today. I laughed so hard at this, especially because you were pointing out an error. Ha ha ha, so relatable too. I'm glad your boss was pretty cool about it. I actually didn't read the typo, and read it as it was intended in the first place. I had to go back and see what I missed. Lol. Regard. On my first day, my desk mate at my first office job warned me to proofread emails carefully and not trust Outlook's spell check too blindly. In her first week there, she dropped the L in public on an email to a bunch of lawyers. That's why you never trust spell check or autocorrect, because if your error is actually another word, it just leaves it in. I can relate. I accidentally told the fire chief to F you on a recent fire inspection when I actually was telling him I wanted to follow up. Oops. I'm a nurse and I was writing a lab order for a patient, and under reason I accidentally abbreviated follow-up chronic kidney disease as, you guessed it, fucked. Today I fucked up by petting a cat and almost got detained in Fiji. This didn't happen today, but a few years back. I was talking about it recently and thought I would share. A few years ago, I was moving to New Zealand, so I went over to my mom's house to say goodbye. She had just gotten a new kitten, which of course means I was going to play with it. As kittens do, it scratched me a little, but I thought nothing of it. Little did I know, that those little scratches were far from harmless. The next day, my mom dropped me off at the airport and gave me a couple of sleeping pills for my flight. Even though I had a stopover in Fiji, the flight was still really long and I'm terrible at sleeping on planes. Just as I sat down in my seat, I took the pills and settled in to try to get comfortable. About 30 minutes in, I was out. About an hour before landing, I was rudely awoken by violently projectile vomiting with several flight attendants looking on with horror. The person who had been sitting next to me was no longer there. Apparently I had been vomiting continuously while I was asleep, including all over this poor guy. We land in Fiji and they immediately take me into the quarantine zone. This was during the Ebola outbreak and they thought that I might be contagious. Well, it turned out that I actually had cat scratch fever from my mom's new kitten. I was able to leave Fiji and eventually make my way to New Zealand. Long story short, be careful when petting kittens and definitely don't take sleeping pills for the first time while traveling. Too long didn't read. I pet a kitten, got cat scratch fever, and threw up all over the place while unconscious on sleeping pills. Got put into quarantine and almost wasn't allowed to leave Fiji. Edit, a lot of people are talking about how it takes longer than 24 hours to show symptoms of cat scratch fever. It could have been longer than the next day after I got scratched. It was a few years ago. so I'm not 100% sure about the timing. I definitely did get cat scratch fever though. The little scratches on my hand bubbled up and eventually turned a weird brown color. It took over a month for it to go away fully. Also, yes, I feel so terrible about the guy sitting next to me. I think about him about once a month or so. He was probably thinking, great, this random girl threw up on me and now I probably have Ebola. I'm sure he never forgot that. P.S. I really don't recommend taking sleeping pills that aren't yours. It is possible that the vomiting was in part due to that. Edit 2, in case anyone is interested, here's the little floof that gave me cat scratch fever. Also, here's what my hand looked like a month afterwards. Tried to find pictures of it while it was still bad, but I think I deleted them all because they were disgusting. The airplane neighbor vomit guy at least has a story to tell forever. You'll never believe I had this great vacation in Fiji when suddenly this guy. It's the bacteria from their claws and paws that prompts the infection. You can get it from vaccinated cats, too. It must still be very rare. I've been scratched by cats for 30 years and have neither had it nor even met anyone who had. Man, I feel for that poor soul that was next to you. I had someone barf sitting next to me in elementary school and middle school. I'll tell you, my dodging reflexes were godlike. Like sneaking up on a cat, hopefully a vaccinated one. I feel for the poor guy who sat next to you. I remember once my sibling was sitting in the passenger seat and me behind him, and our driver was driving down this mountain really fast. My intelligent sibling threw up at the side of the window, the puke flew back in, hit me in the face. Good times. Shortly after 9/11 I was flying into Reagan in DC, and on final approach, a kid in one of the front couple rows started throwing up on his neighbor. The neighbor jumped up and the kid kept puking into the empty seat. The flight crew was telling for him to sit down. The guy was yelling that his seat was full of vomit. The flight is full, there is nowhere else for you to sit. We are landing. Either sit down immediately or we will have to divert to another airport. He took one for the plane full of people and sat down in some stranger's bath for 5 minutes while we landed. Wow. It didn't even have a spare jump seat they could have let him sit in. Poor guy. Today I fucked up by rapping WAP enthusiastically while my husband was on a conference call. Today I decided to spice up the slow workday by blasting WAP on my headphones and rapping along enthusiastically. About halfway through the song, my husband came bursting into my office to frantically inform me that everyone on his conference call can hear me, and his boss would like to know who was singing. It certainly didn't help that I am not a gifted rapper, so the only words I know to the song are, "Wet ass pussy and I want you to touch that little dangly thing that swing in the back of my throat." So I always make sure to sing those words extra loud and proud. Apparently, he initially muted himself and yelled at me numerous times from his office to stop singing, and just when he thought I had heard him, the wet ass pussy part came back, so my performance continued without interruption. I can't say it's my proudest moment, but if anyone is considering a Bose Quiet Comfort 35, I am here to tell you the noise cancelling feature definitely works. Thank goodness the office Christmas party is cancelled this year. Too long didn't read. Rapping WAP at 2 p.m. on a Thursday while everyone is working from home is not recommended because your spouse's boss and co-workers will hear you. Edit. Wow, did not expect this to get this much love here. Figured it would just be an embarrassing story for our podcast, but glad it brought a moment of humor for some, during this crazy year. Thank you and stay safe. My husband is a middle school teacher teaching virtually, and for some reason it completely left my mind that he was. So as I was walking by him working, I decided to give him a performance, and in my loudest, proudest voice I could, I shouted out, "Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly." And then I caught his eyes and noticed the look on his face, and the realization hit me, and well, nowhere near as bad as yours, but I had to leave the house because I was laughing so hard I was crying and couldn't get it under control, lol. I instantly feel less bad about my toddler shouting "Mummy wipe my bum" whilst my husband was talking during a video call meeting. At my job we have a college student intern who we've managed to keep on by giving her stuff to do while working from home. I have a weekly video call with her about it. This week her male roommate made up a song about pornos and what good titles for them would be. The intern didn't realize I could hear it until the roommate sang "She got big titties, everybody wanna FCKM," and I burst out laughing. I'm also female if that matters. The poor intern was so embarrassed, but then she yelled at her roommate that she was on a work call and we could hear the song, and he yelled "oh shit," and that ended the performance. The boss was impressed apparently, probably just wondering why his own wife's isn't. I think you need to escalate by working on his next Zoom call. Show them you mean business. Make eye contact while doing it to establish dominance. Not as big of a fuck up someone else posted a month ago, where his wife was on a conference call and after he got out of the shower he walked up to her and slapped her in the face with his dick for everyone to see. Edit: I don't have the link, sorry. I'm sure you'll find it. Got a lot of attention. Now I just think of that recent Family Guy episode with Peter working from home getting kissed by his wife and taking her to HR for sexual assault.